Hey guys, Maliha here from the Site Blogger, and in today's video, I want to talk about newsletters and some newsletter formats by expert creators that I personally like, enjoy, etc., etc. So, let's see. This is the blog post I actually published today, and I shared much of the same content that I'm about to um, share in this video, or well, basically, I'm making this video on the back of this blog post. But anyway, the point is, I already shared it on my website, so I will share the link in the video description if you want to read. Um, Rather than watch this video, you can go ahead and do that if you want to. So once again, here's the topic. Um, a lot of creators are still not on board with starting a newsletter, and that's probably because either they have no idea how a newsletter can actually help them, or or they don't really know what to send in a newsletter. So the idea of having a newsletter, growing a newsletter is scary to them or overwhelming to them because they just don't know like what to do with it. And that can be because a lot of creators maybe are new in the business, and so they're already overwhelmed by having to write blog posts or creating content for social media and whatnot. So adding another thing on top of everything they feel like they have to do can be daunting for them. So I wrote this blog post after I got a question from someone in my membership vault. And for those of you who don't know, I have a membership vault. Basically, people subscribe to my vault, they become members, and they can access all of my courses um, regarding online business, content business, specifically blogging, newsletter, etc. And they can access all of my content courses, and also they can ask me questions every single week. And I answer those questions every single week in an office hour type Zoom call. So anyway, that's my membership vault. But recently I got a question from one of my members, and they asked me, they shared context and everything, but ultimately the question was, due to limited time, I want to focus on creating, updating, and promoting my blog posts to maximize revenue rather than creating an email newsletter. Is that a bad idea? So my response is, as you can imagine, if you have been around my content for any time, you know that I'm big on newsletters. As with any creator who teaches the business of content, would tell you to, start a newsletter. I'm no different. So yeah, I had to give her the bad news that, yeah, it is a bad idea to not start a newsletter. And so in this blog post that I published, I tried to tackle the two big resistance factors, which, as I mentioned, one of them is a lot of people don't really understand how a newsletter can help them, so I tried to answer that. And the next point was what to actually write in a newsletter. And I tackled that by sharing some of my favorite newsletters. So let me go over the first point, which is why have a newsletter. And you can go and read the blog post, but I will just give you a short answer because I don't want to make this video too long. The short answer is that newsletters help you build relationship with your audience, and people are much more prone to buy from you if they feel like they have an ongoing relationship with you. And by having a relationship, I don't necessarily mean that you have to, have a one-on-one chat with them regularly or anything like that. But just by showing up on people's inboxes, you feel like you get to know them, or more like they feel like they get to know you, assuming that you're the creator. So your subscribers feel a level of familiarity with you, which is important in terms of relationship building, so that when you're ready to sell something, they are more likely to buy from you because they are familiar with you. So, for example, if I go to my newsletter or my the email address I use to subscribe to creator newsletters, I have these newsletters that I have not yet deleted, um, and these are all from people that I enjoy um, reading from, or some of them are people that I have bought from. For example, John Biakovich is someone I have bought a shit ton of stuff from him. Um, and then, let's see, another creator, business owner is Josh Spector. I recently bought something from him. Not as big of an investment as Biakovich, but maybe someday because I really do like Josh's content. And I think he has a lot of good stuff to share for creators. And then, and then Ollie Richards, I bought something from him as well, and etc. etc. So these are people that I, stay in touch with. Not in touch with meaning like it's not like I send them email and we chat or whatever, but I do read from them all the time. I subscribe to their newsletters, and whenever they send a newsletter, I open it, I read it. So I feel like even though we don't have any real relationship, like in person relationship or anything, I feel like there is a connection there simply because they show up in my inbox regularly and I read from them regularly. So I have become familiar with their voice, with their tone, with their products, with their way of doing things. Because if you start following someone, you start to get an idea for the way they run their business, whether they offer value or not, etc., etc. And so whenever I feel like I want to learn about something, I want to do a deep dive into a certain topic that will help my business, I look to these people to buy from. Um, Instead of, going out there and looking for new people to buy from. And that's because I have built up this relationship with them. Or rather, they built up the relationship with me because they're the ones who are doing the work. They are sending me newsletters every single week, some of them every single day, some of them a few times a day, and only one or two who send me an email maybe every other week or so. So, yeah, that's how you build a relationship. And when you do that with your subscribers, they are more likely to buy from you. And that is one of the biggest reasons why I think every single creator should have a newsletter. Because a lot of the times, for example, this member, um, she has had a blog for a long time. This is not her first rodeo. She has been on my list for a long time. Um, and so I know that they are pretty good at blogging, making courses and, selling affiliate products, but they don't have a newsletter. And they have done okay without a newsletter in the past, but I just feel like they are um, about to open up so many other opportunities for building relationships, meaningful relationships, and making a whole lot more money if they just start a newsletter. So obviously, my advice to them um, during the office hour was that, yeah, it is probably, according to me, it is my opinion that it is a bad idea to not start a newsletter because they're kind of leaving money on the table. So that's one of the reasons why I think every creator should have a newsletter. But more so, the point that I want to talk about in this video is how to actually write a newsletter. Because if you are just feeling overwhelmed, like, okay, so I build a newsletter, what do I send in a newsletter? How often do I send a newsletter, etc., etc.? My recommendation, go on a weekly schedule. If it's too overwhelming for you, then send only one newsletter a week. I started with one newsletter a week. These days, I send 3 newsletters a week. And I know creators who send daily newsletters, and trust me, even if it feels like it's too much, I actually read these newsletters every single day, like John Biakovich, Josh Spector. These 2 guys are on my inbox every single day, and I am always opening their emails and always reading through each and every sentence, each and every word that they type on their newsletters. So there's that. There's no way to send too many newsletters if you write good newsletters, but let's um, face the facts. Not everyone is really good at writing newsletters. I remember when I first started my newsletter, even though I had only a few subscribers back in the days, I had like 20%, 25% open rate. And now I have thousands of subscribers, and yet I have um, anywhere between 45 to 55% open rate these days. Sometimes they fluctuate, and when I see fluctuation, when I see open rate going down, I know that it's time to clean up my newsletter, delete subscribers who do not open my emails and whatnot. But even so, just the fact that I have thousands of subscribers and consistently I get at the very least 40% open rate. Like all of my newsletters get over 40% open rate. And that's a something that I'm proud of because it used to not be this way. So anyway, you don't have to start writing daily newsletters if you're not confident that you can write good newsletters. But I think anyone can start with once a week newsletter. And so I'm going to show you what you can do to start your newsletter that doesn't take too much effort. And especially if you're a blogger, then there are ways to write newsletters in a very simple way that doesn't take too much effort, but it still allows you to build that relationship with your subscribers. So let's see some examples. One of the examples is, the first example that I'm sharing is I'm calling it Tiny Updates. Now, tiny updates are emails that are super short. So for example, see here, this is a screenshot. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. All right, so this is a screenshot from one of Jason's newsletters, and it's a tiny newsletter, and all Jason does is basically he shares a link to one of his blog posts. So for example, if I switch to my inbox, Jason Cohen, so for example, this is his latest email, and as you can see, it's like super tiny. Fresh new article. So let me just read it. Fresh new article. Not enabling constraints, not weaknesses, not even strengths. The concept of a pivot point grapples with the same reality, but more constructive and useful. Click here to read the article. Jason. P.S. I don't run ads, so the best way to reciprocate is to share on Twitter or share on LinkedIn or share on Threads or forward this email. Thank you. So yeah, that's it. That's his email. And if you're a blogger already, so for example, my member who asked me the question, she's a blogger. So in the membership vault during the office hour, my recommendation to her was that, okay, if you are not sure about a newsletter and if you think it's going to take up too much of your time, this is what you can do. You can just start a newsletter and share a link to your blog post. You don't have to write like unique content or anything. You can just share a link. And that's still better than, not having a newsletter. It's because it's really simple to do. Every week you just sit down, write a short paragraph like this one, and just link to your article, right? Doesn't take effort at all. I mean, it literally will only take you like a minute to write this and then send it out. That's it. You can do that every single week if you're someone who writes a blog post on a weekly basis. This is really easy to do. All right. So that's one of the formats that I talk about in today's blog post. And the next format that I wrote about is a slightly longer tiny updates. And I don't know why I said that. Now that I'm looking at it, it feels a little silly because essentially it's just tiny updates. And I'm actually referring to the type of emails that Josh Spector writes. And I'm a huge fan of Josh Spector, and I consider him my mentor. Um, and I already purchased something from him, but I hope to one day hire him uh, as my coach or something like that. Because I mean, I know I've been doing it for a few years now, but there's still so much to learn, and I feel like Josh is such a well of um, good advice that he just generously gives away without holding anything back. So I feel like because even though I've only been following him for a few months, I've learned so much from him that I feel like I'm just getting all of these value for free at this point. So I feel almost obligated to buy a coaching program for him from him or something. um, and if I don't know, I don't think if any day Josh Spector um, accidentally stumbles on this video, I hope he wouldn't take it the wrong way because I mean it with, you know, a lot of respect. I'm saying this with a lot of respect. That yes, sometimes I feel obligated to buy from you because I've received so much value, free value from you already. This is meant to be a compliment, by the way. Anyway, so Josh Spector um, writes these short newsletters. For example, this is a typical newsletter from Josh, and it's basically just 3 sentences, and that's it. So the first one is the biggest lesson I learned from working with some of the most talented people in the world: never be in awe of anyone. This is just a link to his blog post. So a small, short update. That's it. The second one is a sponsored link. Today's email is brought to you by a newsletter that helps you understand why people buy. So I know right away that it's a sponsored link because it says today's email is brought to you. And I know I'm familiar with Josh's emails enough to know that this is the second link is usually a sponsored link. And if you are someone who wants to run ads in your newsletter, I actually have a course on this, and I will link to it in the description of this video so you can go ahead and buy it. Because I've been running newsletter ads for the past few months, and I've had ads almost in every single email that I have sent since then, since I started accepting ads. So yeah, I think I can give you valuable info, insight on how to get advertisers, how to price your advertisements, how to scope out quality advertisers, how to pitch them. I have like templates for pitches, cold pitches that I have sent that have actually resulted in people buying ad spots on my newsletter. So yeah, check that out definitely. Um, and the third paragraph in Josh's emails is another link to something. Sometimes he shares links from other people that he looks up to. Sometimes it can be a link to his own content in a social media or whatever. I think in this one of the most popular podcasts in the world just announced, I think it feels like someone else's content. Um, yeah, someone else's blog post. Tim Ferriss. Okay, never mind. Um, anyway, so the third link is a blog post from Tim Ferriss. But anyway, so that's his newsletter. So it's a mix of um, an update from his own content and something a curated link, basically a link by someone else, and it's really tiny. In terms of effort, I think the only effort here, external effort, is to find the third link, out of all the info that's out there, which one to share. So there's that. But yeah, I think if you want to start a daily newsletter, Josh's format is pretty appealing to me personally because I always find so much value in every single newsletter he sends, even though these are such short newsletters. All right, so that's that. The next format I talked about today in the blog post is the curator. So you kind of saw what a curated newsletter is because Josh does a bit of curation himself. But some people take curation on a whole other level, and I just wanted to share what some people do. So, if you want to build up to something like that, you can. So, a lot of you probably have heard of the name Austin Kleon. He has been creating content for a very long time, and I consider him one of the the older GOAT generation content creators. And here's one of his latest newsletters. And he sends a newsletter twice a week, and one of them is for paid subscribers. And it can be, the format can vary depending on what he's sending. But every Friday, he sends a newsletter. Is it Friday or Thursday? I forgot. I think it's Friday. All right. Every Friday or Thursday or something, once a week, one of his newsletters goes into curating links. So as you can see, he says here are 10 things I thought you thought were worth sharing this week, but every list item actually has multiple links to it. So, these are curated newsletters, so he's not exactly creating unique content, but at the same time, I can tell that these newsletters take a lot of time and effort to write because they have so many links and so much value in them. It's not just a link to one thing, it's many links to many things, and he sends it every single week. So a curated newsletter like this one actually takes a lot of effort. So if you like what he's doing and if you're interested in doing what he's doing, but this feels overwhelming, you can just start by, one of these things per newsletter. And even that is, a lot for a lot of people. And then, once you get used to doing something, because, the more you do something, the more efficient you become. So eventually, if you want to do something like Austin Kleon, you can do that. But you can just start, you don't have to do what he's doing from day one. You can just start sharing a few links, one or two links, or just one link, like we saw, like Josh Spector do, like in his emails. So you can start doing that and then build up over time. All right, so there's that. And then the next format I talk about is update plus curate. Now, that's something that Josh Spector does, and we saw that already. But here's another example that I used. It's by Chanel Basilio of Growth in Reverse. So let me find an email from her. All right. So here's one of her emails. And basically what Chanel does is she uses curation as well as an update. But as opposed to Josh Spector, whose emails are, as we saw, super short, it's just one sentence, one link per item, and that's it. Chanel goes deeper into things. So for example, she has like a longer intro kind of, and then sometimes she sells things in her intro, like this one. And then she has an ad, and these ads are also much longer than the ad that we saw on Josh Spector's emails. As you can see, it's like a whole thing. Josh's ads were like one sentence, and Chanel's ads are big. Maybe she charges more. I don't know. And then want your question answered. So something. Before we jump into today's deep dive, I wanted to share with you, I got a lot of questions via email, but my answer only helps one person, the person getting the email back. So I want to start answering more questions from readers so we can help more than one person, blah, blah, blah. So, she's doing something new, trying something new, and kind of like a AMA, ask me anything or whatever. Um, so there's that. And then there's an update, 55K email subscribers in 14 months and 5K before he even launched. So Chanel, basically, if you don't know, Chanel has a blog, Growth in Reverse, and she does deep dives into how other people have grown their business. So it's almost like an investigative journalism, but investigation into creators who have made it big, and she basically writes about those people and how they have done what they have done. And in these newsletters, she shares some of her findings, but then links to the actual blog post, which has like the full deep dive. So that's the update. And then lastly, she has Juicy Finds, which is basically the curation part. She's link dumping to things that she finds interesting that week or something like that. So there's that. I really enjoy Chanel's emails. They are pretty amazing. And I really enjoy reading the deep dives that she writes. So subscribe to her email list if you can. And I think you should. Really, you'll learn a lot from the things that she writes about other people. All right, so there's that. The next one is a think piece. So a lot of people don't necessarily share updates, but they share like entire think pieces um, within the email. So you can do something like that if you want to. One of the examples that I used is Neville. Neville is a copywriter. She's not he, not she. I think his pronouncer he. Anyway, so Neville is a copywriter, and he works with high ticket clients and he makes a ton of money that way. He has a business, an online business as well, where he teaches copywriting to people. But he's not much of a blogger. Like I don't think he cares about SEO traffic and all of that stuff. So what he does is he shares a lot of blog type content within his emails. So if I, search for Neville, um, for example, here's an email that he sent, and it's about problem solving checklist. So how to solve a problem, basically. Here are all 10 methods. All right, so method one, why am I upset, sad, slow? And his emails are cool because he does it with a lot of graphics and whatnot, as you can see here. So basically, he's sharing how to solve problems, and he's sharing with graphics and infographics and whatnot, all within his emails. He's not just linking to a blog post, like the update formats that I've shown you before. It's all right within his email. He doesn't even care that he doesn't have like many links or anything. Usually he shares like one link to his own member area, the same as I do. Like I have a membership vault where I teach people about blogging and newsletters and whatnot. Similarly, Neville also has a membership area, but for copywriters. So there's that. And the next one is the blog post. Basically, it's very similar to think pieces, but typical blog posts are like, how to do things or how to do that. You share value, you teach something, whatnot. Kieran Drew is a creator that I just started following not that long ago. And so this is Kieran Drew's emails. And basically what Kieran does is that the way that it's different from what Neville is doing is that Neville basically writes the blog posts in his newsletters, and he doesn't necessarily care about linking to his website and whatnot. He doesn't care about website traffic or anything. Kieran, on the other hand, if I'm right about this, he has a blog. I believe so. Yep, there it is. He has a blog, and he basically republishes his blog posts within his newsletters. And he also doesn't he links to his website, or he links to his products, but he basically dumps the entire blog post within his emails. So I guess he doesn't really care about website traffic, and maybe that's fine with him. Personally, I'm of the mind that if you have a website and you're sharing the same stuff in the newsletter, then use the update method as opposed to writing the entire blog post within your newsletters. But, you know, everyone is different, every business is different. And we attract certain type of audience based on our personalities and how we do things. So I tend to attract subscribers who are happier to get a shorter email and then click a link, because I get more engagement actually with shorter emails as opposed to longer emails. But that doesn't always tell you the whole story, because sometimes I get fewer clicks but I make more money from an email, whereas sometimes I get a lot of clicks but I don't make money. So there's a lot of nuance stuff going on. But the thing is, we're all different. I personally prefer that if you're going to republish content, the same content that you publish on your blog, into your newsletter, then I personally think it's better to link to the blog post instead of publishing the whole thing inside the newsletter. That's just me. That's how I do things. Anyway, then the sales pitches. So there are some creators who basically write entire sales pitches in every single email that they send. And one of them is John Bjakovich that I mentioned earlier in this video. And it's kind of cool. I really enjoy reading these emails, and I'm fascinated by them because John Bjakovich sends a daily email. So every single day he sends an email, and believe it or not, every single day he sells something. Like literally almost every single day. I've been following him for the last couple of months or so, and yeah, there's all of his emails are like stories, and they lead up to selling something. Like every single email. I don't know how he does it, because I try to write one sales email and I am exhausted by the end of the day. Like I used to only sell like once every other month or so. These days I try to link to one of my products, once a week, because I send like 3 emails per week. So one email per week I try to focus on selling something, and they are exhausting. I'm still practicing, still trying to get better, but I have a lot of respect for people who can sell day after day the way that Bjakovich does, and it's fascinating to me. Another guy that does the same thing is, I think, Jacob Peggs, if I remember his name correctly. Yep, Jacob Peggs. This guy also sells something in every single email. I believe he also sends daily email. And he also writes stories, and his stories lead up to a sales page. So there's that. Really, ooh, what's happening there? Something went wrong? Never mind. I think it was a timed sale or something like that. It's probably expired now. Yeah, that's probably what happened. But anyway, basically Jacob Peggs, people like Jacob Peggs, and oh, it says no internet connection, so I think I lost connection or something. Interesting. But anyway, I got distracted. But the point is, people like Jacob Peggs and John Bjakovic, these guys send daily sales emails. And I have been their subscriber for quite some time. And I'm still their subscriber. Like, I still read their emails. The point is, if you know how to do it, if you know how to market and sell, and if you do it successfully, you will be able to make a lot of money, and without tiring people off with your sales pitches. It's an art. Not everyone can do it. I definitely don't know how to do it yet. I'm trying to learn. Maybe someday. But the point is, don't try this method unless you're absolutely certain that you know what's what. Um, so yeah, if you're not a good salesperson, if you don't know how marketing works, marketing and selling works, if you're still learning, um, go slow, you know. Try to learn by books on copywriting or selling or marketing and whatnot, and then try to learn. Subscribe to these emails, subscribe to Jacob Pegg's email, subscribe to John Bjakovic's email, and try to learn from them if you want to do what they're doing. But yeah, anyway, so that's the last format that I talk about, and then I have some more examples of creators. But yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today. And hopefully after watching this video and maybe even reading the blog post, if you decide to read the blog post, you will know exactly why you need to have a newsletter, how a newsletter can help you make more money and retain audience and whatnot. And overall, if you're not sure exactly what to send in your newsletter, hopefully these examples that I have shared in my blog post today and in this video will help you figure out the kind of newsletter you want to send. And like I said, you can just start small. If you have a blog already, specifically if you're a blogger and if you have a blog, all you have to do is, start with the easiest method, the easiest format, which is tiny updates. And that's it. I will see you in a different video sometime soon. Bye for now.